known as accounts payable. Here, a shorter period of time means within 1 year or within 6 months. Is treated as a liability. And it should be created under it is a balance sheet account. Should be created under current liabilities. Balance sheet. And it is treated as a liability because we have to be payable in future when we purchase goods on trade basis, and then it is a balance sheet account, and it should be created under current liabilities in the balance sheet. Accounts payable is a general ledger account. It is a reconciliation account. Whenever purchase goods or assets, receiving services from the vendors on credit basis, accounts payable comes into existence. Now I'm going to discuss about business process related to accounts payable. As a consultant, before going into SAP for configuration, first we need to business process of the client. Your business process means AP means what type of business the client is dealing with. How to know what type of business client is dealing with currently, and we should know how big clients or national unit related to AP, and also you should know how many vendors they are dealing with currently. how many new vendors are to be created every month. And as a consultant, first we should know the client's business process, that is related to accounts payable. It means what type of the business is doing by the client currently, and how many vendors are they are dealing with currently, and how many new vendors are to be created every month. Then only we will get to know how big is the client's organization, and on the basis of this we will have to map the registry system data into SAP. Also you know also we will get to know how many vendor account groups are to be maintained. Based on the client requirements, we have to map the legacy system data related to AP to the SAP. After getting the information, client consultant should start the creation process in the development server. Related to AP, and after that unit testing is done by the consultant. After that we need to transfer the data to the quality server. Your transport request in the quality server. UAT is done by the end user. Go to the production server. Generally, as a consultant, we should do configuration process below. Creation of vendor account groups. Of number ranges for vendor account groups. Assignment of the vendor account groups. The three steps are to be done by the consultant. According to the client requirements, create and account groups related to vendors. Some of the vendor account groups are local vendor, foreign vendor, and one-time vendor, intercompany vendor, intra-company vendor. As a consultant, we need to do these three steps before user started the process in production server. And some of the vendor account groups are local vendor, foreign vendor, one-time vendor, intercompany vendor, intra-company vendor. Local vendor means whenever within the state, when we purchase the goods from the vendor, it is comes under the local vendor group. And whenever we purchase the goods from other country, it will comes under the foreign vendor. And one-time vendor means in some cases, in case of emergency situations, when we purchase any goods on an emergency basis from the local vendor, then one time it should comes under the one time vendor. And intercompany vendor means if for example, if a company has some 5 different company codes, so any transaction is happening between one company code to another company code, then suppose if A is one company code and B is another company code, and if A purchases goods from the B company code, then it will comes under the intercompany vendor. It means A and B should be are in the same company, so intercompany vendor takes place in this type of situation. And intra-company vendor means within the company, any transaction is happening between the branches or departments, then it comes under the intra-company vendor. Okay, anyone wants to talk?
No, please carry on.
Okay. After that, number ranges are created by the consultant and assigning them to the above vendor groups. And after data to the production server, users start posting a transactions related to a accounts payable. And based on these account groups, master data management team or end users create different vendor reconciliation accounts. After that, vendors are created with different account groups according to the requirement. Here, after transferring the data to the production server, end users will start posting a transactions related accounts payable. It means after the configuration related stuff is done, then end user will start posting a transactions related to accounts payable. And before that, we need to create some account. We need to create some reconciliation GL accounts in FSWO. And after that, vendors are created under different account groups according to the requirement. And without creating reconciliation accounts, we can't post a transaction related to the vendor. Generally, in the books of accounts, whenever any transaction happens related to accounts payable, only GL account will be reflected in the books of accounts. Nowhere vendor account will be shown in the books of accounts, because it is impossible to show thousand number of, because in many companies there are thousands in number of vendors, so it is impossible to show that number of vendors in the balance sheet. So it is the reason to create vendor reconciliation accounts in the balance sheet. So whenever we post a transaction related to particular vendor, it will be tracked through the vendor reconciliation account. So in the books of accounts, it will show only vendor reconciliation account, not any vendor number or vendor list. So vendor reconciliation account is the most important one, most important that we should remember. When you purchase goods as a raw material, you will get goods along with the invoice. After receiving the goods, the goods from the vendor. Quality check is done. Conducted by the concerned department. Then only vendor invoice will be approved by the finance department. So here, whenever purchase a raw material from the vendor, we will receive the goods along with the invoice, and after receiving the goods from the vendor, quality check is conducted by the concerned department, and then only invoice will be approved by the finance department. After that, end user can post a vendor invoice in SAP. And before that, before posting a invoice, you have to know whether the vendor is existing in our books of accounts or a new vendor. If he is a existing vendor, end user directly post a invoice in SAP. He is a new vendor. We have to create new vendor creation request. And after it is in master data management, create a new vendor according to the creation request and the invoice. After creation of a new vendor, end users will get a vendor code from the master data management. Then continued, then user post ready to new vendor. Generally, invoice contains some fields, some vendor details, customer details, goods details, quantity, payment terms, delivery terms. May contain vendor bank account details, and it is also important before posting any invoice into the SAP. First, we should know what the invoice contains. It means vendor details, customer details, goods details, quantity, price, payment terms, delivery terms, and it may contain vendor bank account details. Then posting a SAP entries material account data. I'm taking 1 lakh for example. Okay, after posting an invoice in SAP, the entry is posted in two views. Is entry view, and second one is general ledger view. Entry view means whatever the information given posting mainly related to subledger account, will be shown in the entry view. General ledger means always contains GL accounts on both debit and credit side. Based on GL accounts only, balance sheet is prepared. interview, whenever you post a transaction in SAP, raw material account data 1 lakh, here vendor is a subledger account. General ledger view, raw material account data 1 lakh, accounts payable, local vendor account if he's a local vendor, and if he's a foreign vendor, it comes under the foreign vendor group, foreign vendor reconciliation account. Sorry, here accounts payable, local vendor is a GL account, and it will be shown under the current liabilities. The balance sheet. So whenever we post any transaction related to vendor related, the transaction will be generated in two views, that is entry view and general ledger view. Entry view means whatever the information we have given while posting a transaction in FB60 or in double screen mode, we will get a it will take a vendor account, that is whatever we entered in at the time of posting a transaction, that will be taken in the interview. And general ledger view means it always takes the GL account, because on the basis of GL accounts only balance sheet will be prepared, and subledger accounts will not be shown in anywhere in the balance sheet. Only GL accounts will be shown in the balance sheet. So we have to remember this before posting any transaction related to accounts receivable or accounts payable or asset accounting related.
You mean to say that in general ledger view, reconciliation account will be shown, right?
Yeah.
In entry view, the vendor name will be shown.
Yeah, in entry view, it will always show the subledger accounts. No, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the next entry is if any goods are damaged, the company realizes goods are damaged, they want to return some of them. Entry will be vendor account. What I am taking 50,000. Raw material account. Here one thing I forgot to say. Here financial impact is we post a transaction. Raw material inventory account is increased in the left side of the balance sheet, and accounts payable, local vendor value is increased. Current liabilities balance sheet. That is entry view. Accounts payable, data, local vendors, raw material account, $50,000. Here the financial impact is inventory account reduced in the asset side of the balance sheet. Accounts payable, local vendors reduced in the liabilities side of the balance sheet. After that, amount is paid through bank. Vendor account debtor, bank account, it is entry view. Accounts payable, local vendors, debtor, 1000 to bank account, bank outgoing account, general ledger view. After the bank reconciliation is done, bank outgoing account 3,000 to main bank account. So that's it from my side. This is related to accounts payable business process. Thank you. And sorry, one thing I have to say. Financial impact is accounts payable, local vendor is reduced. The liability side, bank outgoing account showing the asset side on a credit balance, because it is a clearing account and it is a subledger account. So whenever we issued a check or we transfer the amount to the vendor, first mainly we can't give the main account immediately. So for on a temporary basis, we have to give bank outgoing account whenever we make a payment to the vendor, and temporarily it will be credited to the bank outgoing account, and after the reconciliation is done, bank outgoing account will be debited. So here it will be credited, and again it will be debited. So bank outgoing account will be nullified in our books of accounts. And here after bank reconciliation is done, main bank account will be reduced by 50,000. So that's it from my side related to accounts payable business process. Thank you.
Yeah, nice presentation. Okay, guys, this is the session today.